You know, it's been almost 2 years since I first addressed this body. Only 3 of you were here at that time, actually, if yes, Kevin was here, and Jennifer probably was somewhere else, not in her current role. But what I said that night is, follow the science. And I have to say, I'm very gratified by the kind of science that's being discussed tonight, because you have followed the science. We're still trying to get it right, but we're still looking at the data, looking at the facts of what's happening. And Devin, I would just say, extraction said our air would get better, not because of their drilling, but because of their plugging and abandoning the 42 or 43 old wells that presumably all are leaking. They've only done 17 of them now?
27.
Are they up to 27 now? Okay, so they're more than halfway through with that, but that's where that comment came from originally. As you know, because you've seen the email I sent with the data sheets, and I don't know if you're not going to be able to see that, but just to remind you, because you had that in an email. My house is the closest house to the first well in the Livingston pad. And it happens to have, as I was just sharing, so one time you don't really want to be perfect, but it is the perfect environment. It is below the level of the pad. There's a berm there that captures the air and keeps it there. My neighbors all don't have that same level of berming there, so it's perfect, you know, for gathering all of the air that you don't want to gather. But we started presenting to the city the health concerns that both Ed and I were having as extraction began the drilling, particularly in August when they were really getting going with the drilling. And it took me a while to draw the correlation between what I was seeing happening out my back door and my extra view of open space that I paid for, and what was happening to us personally. And that's when we met with staff, and they suggested we have some canisters to do a single grab. And so we did. On those days that we had really health challenges, we did a sample grab, and I knew as a scientist I needed to have a comparison. What was it like when we weren't having problems? And as Dr. Collette said, it was a surprise it was such a clean day, and it wasn't. I don't think it was a windy day, and Tammy will have to go back and look at the report on the 24th of October, but because I was provided that information, whether it was windy or not, and I tried to keep the variables the same. And the only times we were having the health challenges were on no wind days and when they were pulling the pipes, when they were tripping. And once I submitted these data to the city, COGCC got a copy of it. Within 24 hours, COGCC and the city said to extraction, all right, you have to do a better job of cleaning the mud off of the pipes, and not only doing that, but flushing the mud out of the pipes within 24 hours. That is an incredibly quick response time. Now, it's not going to help us because they're done drilling, but it will help anyone who lives near Northwest A and B, Interchange A, and the United Pad. There's not population density that we have, but we'll continue to monitor during the fracking and the flow back if there are additional challenges that take place. But that kind of learning, there's, to my knowledge, within Colorado, there has not been a circumstance under which we have been able to gather air samples on the specific day that health challenges are taking place and know exactly what is happening at the site. Those three elements together are unique, and it provides a very important scientific window into what's going on and how to fix it, how to make it better. Dr. Collette said that maybe it's a human impact from the isoprene. I suggested maybe I should blow into one of the canisters and see if it was my breath. I do want to say something about the toxicity studies. The levels that we gathered when we were not feeling well are below CDC levels to say, oh, it's okay. But CDC and most primary researchers, and correct me, Christy, if I'm, it's a toxicity report. So you look in the cage, it's dead. Okay, I guess that was a bad level. Or you do an analysis of the urine that's now red. Well, maybe that was not a good level. We're not at those levels of health impacts, but we are at levels that send us to the doctor. Both Ed and I have written letters from our ophthalmologists about the degradation of the quality of our eyes during these periods of time. So there are real health impacts. They don't rise to the level that maybe CDC might be looking at. Thank goodness. I'm not done at 74. I think I have some more to contribute, and I plan on going longer. I don't know how much what I've been exposed to is going to impact me in 5 or 10 years. We don't have those longitudinal studies. But by gathering the data now, we have a starting point. The other thing that I wanted to mention is that CDPHE, the air quality group, is going to begin doing rulemaking about air quality. And I plan to be there to speak with that group about this unique opportunity to look at data. And it may have some impact of trying to change that dial on what are the levels that are acceptable levels. You have the opportunity to work collaboratively now with the state, and you are doing that, and I commend you for doing that. The residents of Anthem Ranch are an incredibly accomplished group of residents and have provided meaningful input, I think, for what you are trying to accomplish, protect the health, safety, and welfare of all residents. So we also happen to be chronologically enriched, so we're a little more vulnerable to the air impacts. As our new resident who isn't here now, her little 1-year-old is also very vulnerable to adverse air events. So we need to keep moving forward. We'll continue collecting data for you, but follow the science. Thank you.
I just had a quick question for Dr. Speece. For the benefit of some of the newer members of our council, you didn't really go into detail about your health impacts, you mentioned the eye irritation and the optometrist, but could you elaborate on the adverse impacts that you and Ed felt?
Both Ed and I had nasal congestion, irritated and very weepy eyes, much more so than any normal kind of drippy eyes. And he wasn't making me sad, just lots of tears. And upper respiratory burning, severe burning on some days. As I said, on one particularly bad day, I had not felt that kind of a chemical burn since I was in college and some kid mixed two things he wasn't supposed to mix, and we were all like evacuated from that lab because of a chlorine burn. So it was very extreme in some cases. So those were the nature of the health concerns for both of us.
Thank you. Thank you so much for
And
coming to tell
I
us.
should mention that because we back right onto it, there are a number of neighbors who've had similar problems. And there's an individual who lives across the street and down a couple of houses east who had consistent headaches only on the days when they were tripping, and wasn't able to put it together until he and I were talking. Then they went away for a week, the headaches went away. The night that he came home, severe headache. Now that they're not drilling, he doesn't have the headaches, so.
Thank you.